Good evening, ghoulies and ghosties and long-leggedy beasties. This is Alex, coming at you from the underworld, and welcome back to another episode of... Before I get started, I would just like to say I hope everyone had a great Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Yule, whatever it is you celebrate. I hope you had a great time celebrating it. As far as myself is concerned, I'm glad that Christmas is over, and I'm really grateful that it only comes once a year. But aside from the holidays, I did have some relatives come visit from Virginia, and it was so very great to see them again because Carrie and I have not seen them in 7 years, and we vibe with them so very well. So it was just great to be able to lounge around, go sightsee a little bit, play catch up, and just enjoy some good food together. Then on Sunday, after they continued on with their journey, Carrie and I decided to go see the new Nosferatu, which we were completely blown away because it was just so beautiful. Like, it was disgusting, don't get me wrong, but it was so beautifully filmed. And it was well acted, well written. The effects were pretty gruesome. I was very happy with the overall effect. And I just really feel like this is a great reminder of how vampires should not be romantic or attractive in any sort of way. So I was really happy that they continued to portray Count Orlok as being this hideous creature that was nothing but pure nightmare fuel. And if you haven't had a chance to see Nosferatu yet, definitely go to the theater to get that experience. But aside from that, I do return to work tomorrow. And before the week starts, I would just like to take this opportunity to share with you the books that I received for Christmas. And I'm going to start off with some books that are sequels, which I'm really not going to dive into their synopsis because I haven't read their predecessors and I don't want to come across anything that could spoil the experience for me. So, without further ado, these are the books that I received for Christmas of 2024. First up is the graphic novel Fight Club 3 by Chuck Palahniuk and Cameron Stewart, as well as Dave McCraig, Nate Pickos, and David Mack. Now, I read Fight Club about 10 years ago and really enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, I need to revisit it so I can review it for this channel. And I do have its sequel, which is also a graphic novel, but I haven't read that yet. And before I get into the sequels, I definitely do want to refresh my memory with the first Fight Club. Now, about a year ago, I had the opportunity to see a book signing that Chuck Palahniuk put on, and this was really a performance like no other because he was so very sweet to his audience. And when he got on stage and was explaining his inspirations and talking about his life, he did it in a way that was performance art, and it made the audience become very involved in what he was doing. And aside from that, he told some really cool stories that he had written that I had never read before. And the overall experience was just a lot of really great vibes. And as he was answering some questions from the audience, he had mentioned that with his series Damned, it was intended to be a trilogy. However, the second book didn't sell as much as what the publishers had hoped, so for that reason, they didn't continue forward. But he said in Fight Club 3, the lore of the Damned books as well as the Fight Club books have been combined in this to answer a few questions that were left unanswered. And since I haven't read the books in the Damned series, I really do want to read those before I get to this volume. So it looks like I have some Palahniuk to read in the near future. Following that is a sequel called Clown in a Cornfield 2 by Adam Caesar, and this one is subtitled Friendo Lives. Now, Clive Barker gave this author praise by saying, an author who knows how to make us afraid. And I'm really excited about that because I'm a huge Clive Barker fan, and a lot of times when he gives a book his kiss of approval, I'm going to enjoy it. But I haven't read the first book yet. I do know that it is a slasher series about killer clowns, and I haven't really read any killer clown books before, so I feel this will be a fun experience. Also, I believe that Clown in a Cornfield is being made into a movie, so I definitely want to read that book before the movie is released. And I definitely need to get my hands on part three because if this is a series that I thoroughly enjoy, then I'm definitely going to go from book to book to book. And I want to have all of those at my fingertips at the same time. Speaking of slashers, next up is the sequel to My Heart is a Chainsaw, which is Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. Now, I have read this author's short stories before, and I do enjoy his short stories, but I wasn't too closely attached to his book called Mongrels. And I think that might be because I really wasn't familiar with Native American folklore and culture. So I would like to revisit that book, but definitely before I revisit that and dive into this trilogy, I want to try to educate myself a little bit more, so hopefully I can appreciate his work to the fullest extent. And aside from that, I did also get the third part of the trilogy called The Angel of Indian Lake. Once again, not too certain what to expect. All I know is it follows a final girl from the first book to the third, and I don't know if we're dealing with the same slasher or if we're dealing with a copycat or whatnot, but I would appreciate for people who have read this trilogy to maybe give me like some leads on what I could maybe expect as far as culture and lore is concerned. That way I can read up on it a little bit more and be familiar with that before actually diving into these books. Another slasher that I received is the sequel to Candy Cane Kills, which is Candy Cane Kills Again, which this is a part of the Killer VHS series. I have 3 of these books so far, and out of these books, this is only a duo at the moment. I don't know if this particular title will have a third part to it, but this is written by Brian McAuley, and I really love the aesthetic of these books because it feels like an old school VHS tape, especially with the back having an image and the synopsis. So that's really cool. And it says, it's gory, it's shocking, it's a wildly good time. Candy Cane Kills is the perfect stocking stuffer for the scary movie buffs in your life, whether naughty or nice. So I feel like this is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's probably going to be splatterpunk, but this is a series that I was hoping to read this December and it just didn't work out, so it'll definitely go to the top of the list for next year. And the final sequel that I have to show off is another slasher, which this is The Scars of the Broken by Ryan C. Thomas, and this is the third book of the Roger Huntington saga. I don't really know what to expect with this, but I kind of feel like this trilogy will be a nice throwback to the 80s slasher thriller subgenre. I think that it probably will be splatterpunk. I think I read somewhere online that it was splatterpunk. But the first time I had ever heard about these books was when I was in the Facebook group known as Books of Horror, and some fans were talking about it. And I thought, okay, the covers look really cool, so I decided to start collecting them. Since we have sequels out of the way, I would like to show off the reference books that I received, which this first book is a title that I've wanted for a very long time, and that is The Old Magic of Christmas by Linda Radish, which I hope I'm saying her name right. I suck at pronouncing names. But this is a New Age book, and it is in regards to the traditions and lore and superstitions that surround Yuletide and Christmas. And it says on the back, "'Tis the season for witches, elves, and a legion of ghosts." Not so very long ago, Yuletide was as much a chilling season of ghosts and witches as it was a festival of goodwill. In the old magic of Christmas, you'll rub elbows with veiled spirits, learn the true perils of elves, and discover a bestiary of enchanted creatures, rife with the more frightful characters from folklore and the season's most petulant ghost. This book takes you on a spooky sleigh ride from the silvered firs of Winter Forest to the mirrored halls of the Snow Queen. Along the way, you'll discover how to bring the festivities into your home with cookie recipes and craft instructions, as well as tips for delving more deeply into your relationship with the unseen. Okay, this is gonna be a lot of fun. It said recipes, and yeah, obviously, I didn't get this body from eating salads. I'll worry about eating better in the future, but I'm sure I'm gonna have some cheat days here and there, and I'm gonna try out some of these recipes. Another reference book that regards the holiday is one that I received as a gift from my good friend, Selah Janelle. And this is The Fright Before Christmas by Jeff Ballinger. I hope I'm saying that right. Bellinger, I think. Yeah. I suck at pronouncing names. Don't hold it against me. But it says on the back, for far too long my cohorts and helpers have been kept in the shadows of a Christmas holiday that's grown far too focused on consumerism for my taste. Jeff Bellinger's Fright Before Christmas tells the story of this holiday like you've never heard it before. These are all the tales I wish I could have told you while you were sitting on my knee at the mall, spouting off about all the expensive gizmos and gadgets you wanted for Christmas. Forget coal and forget sticks in your stockings. This year, I hope you get this book. If you somehow manage to survive your encounters with Krampus, Belsnickel, there's a few names here I know I am totally going to butcher. I will learn how to say them before I review the book. And it continues on speaking about other ghoulies and beasties who are coming for you during this dark, cold, dangerous, and most frightening time of the year. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good fright, Santa Claus. I really love that aesthetic. That's fun. And this book feels really nice to the touch. It has images inside as well, so you can see a little bit of what you're reading about. Gives you some good visuals here. So I really love the artwork. And this is actually one of the creatures that's mentioned on the back. Gryla? Gryla. Yeah, that's got to be Gryla. So I think she was the witch that was mentioned in the red one. I believe she was. And this is another figure that was mentioned on the back. Pierre. I did not take French. I will butcher that name, but yes. This just looks like it is going to be a lot of fun. And I really just can't wait to indulge in that because it just seems like stuff like that, it just makes me feel like a kid again. It gives me that spark of wonder that as an adult has just kind of been diminished. And I hate that it's been diminished because I love folk stories, I love culture, I love superstitions. And even if I think some superstitions are just complete BS, it's still fun to pretend. Next up, I have another reference book, which this is The Scary Book of Christmas Lore, and that's by Tim Rayborn. It's a collection of 50 terrifying Yuletide tales from around the world. It says on the back, some children fear more than just a lump of coal in their stocking. You know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, but do you recall the most petrifying holiday figures of all? From beasts that threaten to cook kids into stew to sinister crones who snatch little ones from their beds, there are an abundance of frightening Christmas creatures. Discover stories of Yuletide terror from every corner of the world, including Krampus. And again, Pierre is mentioned, the dude who's St. Nicholas's eternal cannibal manservant who deals with naughty children. We also have goblins who come out during the Advent to cause mischief and evil. And there's a figure who slits the bellies of bad children and stuffs them with straw. Yeah, this isn't for kids. I love it. That's awesome. And it has really beautiful artwork inside too. And pretty much, I think that all three of these are going to be equally just as informative. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. And I don't mind having reference books on the same subject because sometimes you will learn different things from each author. And so it never hurts to have too many. It's always good to have too many than not enough. But yeah, those books are going to be a lot of fun. And of course, I am a foodie. So as soon as I found out this book existed, I totally had to have it, which this is probably going to be a really awesome reference book for multiple reasons. One, because I'll be able to maybe travel to some of these places and just indulge in my dark tourist side of things. But also at the same time, I'll be able to enjoy some of these recipes. Now, this is Food to Die For, and this is by Amy Bruni. I hope I'm saying that right. And this is going to be a collection of stories and recipes that have been collected from homes that are haunted throughout America. Also, I do believe it includes homes where murders happened, but not only does it have homes though, it does have like hotels and stuff like that. So you do get a pretty good diversity of locations here. We have the Hawthorne Hotel in Salem, Massachusetts, which I would love to stay there. Carrie and I have been wanting to take a trip to Salem, and we actually have looked at that hotel before. And the recipe that goes along with that is seafood chowder, which I love seafood and I love a good chowder. Also, we have the Lizzie Borden house. And the recipe that goes with that is Lizzie Borden's meatloaf. Too cool. Yeah, I'm gonna eat good. I am totally gonna eat good. My goal for 2025 was to lose some weight, and that shit has gone right out the door already. Oh, cool. Alcatraz. That's pretty awesome. The recipe from Alcatraz is cinnamon sugar cookies. So, yeah, some of these seem like they're going to be really inexpensive, easy recipes. Others seem like they could be just a little bit more complex, but this is definitely going to be put to use. While on the subject of haunted houses and places where homicide have happened, I do have a book that is a fictionalization of a true story, and that is Ray Celestine's The Axeman, which this is about the infamous Axeman of New Orleans. And I've always wanted to read this book. Like, ever since I saw it online, I knew I wanted to have it, but for some reason, I just didn't make that purchase. And this is something that I feel would be a perfect read when I go down to New Orleans next time. I could honestly just see myself like sitting at my cousin's house, maybe sipping some absinthe and just scaring the hell out of myself with this book, which I don't believe this is full-fledged horror. It seems like it's going to be more thriller suspense, but sometimes that genre can be pretty frightening in itself. It says on the back, the Axeman stalks the streets of New Orleans. In a town jammed with voodoo and gangsters, a sense of intoxicating mystery often beckons from the back alleys. But when a real serial killer roams the sultry nights, even the corrupt cops can't see the clues. That is, until a letter from the Axeman himself is published in the newspaper, proclaiming that any home playing jazz music will be spared in his next attack. Such brass invites a chase, and not just from the cryptic detective running the show. The New Orleans of 1919 is a place like no other, where the corruption runs deep and the bourbon rolls smooth, and control of this city is a prize only a fool would give up. Based on a true story, the Axeman brings life to a vibrant, volatile New Orleans filled with as much desperate ambition as utter fear. That's going to be badass. Well, I was going to continue forward and show off more books, but I do have quite a few more titles left. So, for that reason, I'm going to make this a two-part video, and with the follow-up video, I'm going to show off some books that I received from a Secret Santa, as well as some horror books that are intended to be a standalone. But for now, I would just like to thank these amazing people for contributing to my Patreon account. As you can tell, some of the names listed here are creators, so be sure to check out their work. And if you would like to contribute to my Patreon account, I have a link available in the description section of this episode, where for $5 a month, I'll give you a shout out at the end of my videos. And if there is a certain profession you would like for me to tie to your name, just let me know and I'll do that. Also, I do have a $10 tier available where for $10 a month, I'll still give you the shout out as you see here, but I do creepy photography on the side, so at the beginning of every month, I send out one of my creepy photos. From there, you can print it off and do whatever you like with it. So if you're able to do this, that's awesome. If not, no sweat. I just hope you return to this channel so we can continue to have a good time together. Also, if you would like to hit me up on social media, links to my Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads are all available in the description section of this episode. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, be sure to subscribe because I have more videos coming in the near future. So until we see each other again, I hope you have a great week and sweet nightmares.